welcome back to my homestead. Today is a perfect day to harvest dandelion roots. If you guys have seen my video that I recorded back in May when I harvested dandelion flowers and dandelion leaves, but today, and I mentioned that dandelion roots must be harvested late in the fall. So right now it's end of November and we already had a couple of first frost here in New England. It's a perfect time to harvest dandelion roots. And I have, it rained a few days ago, so the soil is not super soggy wet, but it's soft. So it's very easy to dig up these beautiful dandelion roots because look how long and lengthy they are. So it's perfect time to harvest dandelion roots in the fall because all of the energy and nutrients are returned back into the root so they can survive the winter, okay, and then come back to life again in the spring. So I'm gonna go back in a garden where it's very clean, ecological place, and I don't put any chemicals because be careful, guys, harvesting your dandelions in the park or in any other places where they may spray pesticides. You don't want to bring that into your herbal cabinet. I'm gonna go dig up a few more and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do with them later. Okay, so here's a nice little dandelion guy, and I'm gonna it's gonna be a young plant, so I don't expect a big root. All right, so I'm gonna just dig him up. Like I said, the soil is nice and loose, and I'm just gonna shake it, and here it is. I did break off the tip, but it's okay. Look at this beautiful little guy. So I need to dig up a whole lot more because they're so little. Oh, this is a bigger guy. Nice. Okay, so I removed the stems and I didn't want to bore you with all of that. But then I washed them several times. I washed these roots outside and dumped all that water outside because it was pretty sandy and dirty. And now I'm washing it here in my house in the sink a few more times because I want to make sure that it's as clean as possible. Okay, friends, so I washed them several times. They're nice and clean, and I trimmed as much as I can. And I'm going to trim off some of these little hair-like roots as well because they're really not needed for what I'm about to do. So what am I gonna do with these roots? Dandelion roots. And many people really regard them as pesky little things that growing on the lawn. But not for me. I really enjoy dandelions. I think they're pretty. I think they're a sign of spring when they blossom, beautiful little yellow, like sunshine flowers. And I already have a video about what you can do with leaves, dandelion leaves, because they're edible and they're delicious. Well, a little bitter, but they are so good for us. And what to do with flowers and how to store them and how to use them for medicine. And I'm going to put up a link on top and some in a description box as well below, so you guys can go and take a look at that video. But remember when I mentioned in the spring that the best time to harvest these is in the fall. So that's exactly what I did a couple of days ago. And I washed them. So now let's prepare them. All right, so I've decided just to trim them a little bit, just to remove these ugly hairy pieces just like this. You don't have to, you may just leave them right on, but I think they're gonna be kind of ugly if I don't do that. You really don't have to peel these roots as long as they're nice and clean. So a couple of little notes that I like to point out, that when you guys go to harvest, to collect, to forage for your herbal roots or whatever you choose to do, make sure it's a very clean environmental place. It's very important, okay? The last thing we want to do is to go where it's heavy pesticide sprayed or herbicide or anything like that, or heavy metals. So that means be far away from the roads or from any drainage where there might be drainage water from the road. Because think about it, there's a lot of carcinogens and other heavy metals may be in the draining water that's draining away from the major roads. So I have harvested in my own garden, in my own front yard, backyard, far away from the roads, and it's the best thing to do that. So I'm just cleaning them up a little bit, and as I'm cleaning them, I just want to tell you why I'm doing this. Why am I preparing my own herbal medicines, why I treat my family naturally, and how I'm going to be using this. Okay, so dandelions, and if you guys have watched my other videos, you probably already know, I probably already mentioned, and if you have not, please go and watch that video, and a link is going to be here. So dandelion root is excellent as a mild diuretic. Okay, so if you need to lose extra fluid that you might have holding on to for whatever reason after salty meal or something, this is going to help you to lose that extra fluid. Also, if someone who is dealing with the UTI and they're drinking lots and lots of fluid, that's going to help to, but you have to drink a lot of fluid. That's going to help you to cleanse the bladder faster, because it's going to stimulate your bladder to kind of remove extra fluid. Okay, but it's also great for liver tonic. Okay, so it is part of the bitters family, and dandelion is going to stimulate liver to produce more bile and to get rid of toxins out of the body. Okay, it's also going to help to kind of gently stimulate bowel movement. And if we guys remember, lots of toxins, heavy metals and other toxins, are excreted through urine, through stool, well, some through breathing, but mostly through urine and stool. That means we cannot be constipated. I know that constipation is a major problem in the United States, and lots of people dealing with that. And sometimes I would ask people, patients, about how often they have a number two, how often they have a bowel movement. And sometimes they'll say, oh, it's normal for me not to go 2-3 days. I hate to tell you, but that's not normal. If we observe dogs, right? Dogs have a meal and they go to the bathroom half an hour later or so. And that's exactly how it should be for humans, okay? We should have, if we have 3 meals a day, that means we should have 3 bowel movements a day. And unfortunately, that's not the reality for many people. So very often, and not surprising, many of us are holding on to toxins for awfully a long time, when in fact, that's how we get rid of toxins out of the body, okay? So this is gonna stimulate bowel movement. And again, it's not a laxative, okay? Because laxatives are also not good. But this is just gonna stimulate to sort of go to the bathroom, all right? It is a mild detox. Like I mentioned, it's a liver tonic, but it's also gonna help to remove some of the toxins. So people who are dealing with chronic acne, rashes, other skin issues, sometimes it's because they're holding on to toxins and they need to flush it out. I actually learned in one of my herbal classes is that skin is our 3rd kidney, okay? And what that means is that sometimes when our GI system, our urinary system is overrun with toxins, it's going to start releasing itself, showing its ugly face through our skin, okay? And that's why we have acne. It also helps to improve digestion, especially fatty meals, because it's going to stimulate bile production. All right, so it's going to help to digest fat. So there are contraindications or side effects or something to be cautious about if you are already taking a diuretic. So please talk to your doctor about adding dandelion, because this might be too much of a diuretic, okay? Because dandelion is already a diuretic, all right? Or if someone who is taking Cipro, it's an antibiotic that's often prescribed for UTI. So again, double check with your doctor so you're not causing any damage. Anytime when you're taking any kind of herbal supplement or herbal preparation, it's always a good idea to check with your healthcare provider, whoever that may be. If it's a Western type of medication, medical provider, or an alternative provider, a holistic provider, always a good idea to double check. Okay, so I just cleaned up all of my roots, and honestly, you don't have to do that. It's just I chose to do that. As long as they're nicely washed and you remove all the debris and all the dirt, you can leave those little hairs on. I just wanted to get them a little cleaner. And now I want to prepare them in two ways. I want to put away the dandelion root in two ways. One is I'm going to make a tincture. And you probably have seen me making tinctures before. And also I'm going to be making, drying them, chopping them and drying them to use in a tea. I have seen in the old times, and I've read in some places, that back in the day when there was no coffee or coffee shortage, it was during the Great Depression, I know people would dig up roots of dandelion, of chicory, dry them, and roast them and make coffee out of them, just like coffee beans, because there was a shortage. Or they would add it to the coffee, existing coffee beans, to kind of stretch out the coffee. That's not what I'm going to be doing, but it's something fun to try. I want to turn some of these roots into tea, and I'm going to chop them up and I'm going to dry them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop them up, and I'm just using a sharp knife. It's very easy to chop them. They remind me of a carrot. It's the same consistency. They're nice and juicy. And again, guys, really, you did not have to peel them, and I didn't peel them a lot, just a little bit. And all I'm doing is just chopping them into little squares. Okay, they don't have to be perfect. It's just the reason why I like to do that, because it will be easier for them to dehydrate. Okay, because you want them to be in even sizes, so you don't want to put a big chunk and it will be still wet, still not dry, and the other ones are going to be completely dry. I want to show you how I'm going to be making a tincture. So I have a small glass jar. You can use any kind of jar of your wish, and I'm going to be putting all in here. Hopefully I don't drop too much. Okay, you put them all in here. And for my tincture, I like to use vodka. I know you can make tinctures using vinegars and you can use glycerin, but I find that strong vodka works very well with dandelion root. And I have a small container. Sometimes if I'm making very small batch, like a small amount, I like to use baby jar containers. So when you know, the ones you purchase at the store with baby food. Okay, but this one was, I think it was a mustard container from a Russian store. So all I'm doing, I'm just chopping into small pieces, because I want more surface area to be exposed to alcohol, because it has alcohol soluble property, and that's how this medicine is going to be extracted. So one thing that I did not mention to you, and I want to mention to you now, is that dandelion root also can be used to aid digestion, which I've said already, but it also can aid with reflux. Okay, so I know a lot of people, it's a major problem, people suffering with GERD, which, you know, the esophageal reflux disease, and a lot of people are taking reflux medications. Many of them are over the counter, a lot of them are prescription drugs, but unfortunately, a lot of those medications have side effects, major side effects. And for some reason, you know, when we're picking up a prescription from a drugstore, from pharmacy, and it comes with a full long page of side effects, sometimes it's more than one page, we sort of ignore it and we throw it away in the trash. But those are the side effects that that drug causes. Some of them are visible side effects, some of them are not visible. Some of them are not visible right away, they may show up later. Okay, and yet we completely ignore them. We ignore that page when we're throwing away, when we're taking those drugs. And yet, when I mention an herb that's been used for centuries. For centuries. People like, oh yeah, no, I don't know if it's safe. I don't know if it's safe for me to take that herb. Well, I'm going to stop you right there. And I don't want to upset anybody and I don't want to lose subscribers, but I'm going to be honest when I say, but what about all the side effects on the drug that was prescribed to you or you bought it yourself? Many anti-acid or anti-GERD, anti-reflux medications should be taken for a short period of time, no more than 6 months. Why? Because they do block absorption of nutrients that we eat. Okay, so it increases risk for osteoporosis in older women, and that's just one of them. Okay, but yet people take those anti-acid, anti-reflux medications for years without even paying attention to that. Okay, so I'm just going to fill up this jar to almost to the top. Well, actually, no, I'm not gonna. What am I saying? Probably 3/4. Actually, I probably should stop soon. 3/4 of the way up, and the rest I'm gonna fill up with 100 proof vodka. 100 proof vodka means that it has 50% alcohol and 50% of water. My recipes, when I make my tinctures, I do not add any water. You probably have seen my videos before, and if you have not and you want to see my other videos, please subscribe, okay, and share this content with your friends and family if they are dealing with chronic ailments and they want to look up at other ways of managing this problem and supporting their body naturally. All right, so pretty much 3/4 of the way, maybe like, yeah, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up. And now I'm going to be covering everything with alcohol. And like I said, this is 100 proof vodka. And I'm going to cover all the way to the top. It's going to sit and macerate in alcohol for about 6 to 8 weeks. For the first week, I'm going to come and I'm going to turn every day, once or twice, just to make sure everything is kind of playing and covered in alcohol. But after the first week, I'm going to shake it, turn it just like this once or twice in a week. That's it. And then at the end of the 6 to 8 weeks, at the end of the process, I'm going to strain it. And when I strain it, I'm going to put it through a cheesecloth and I'm going to squeeze that cheesecloth to make sure that all of those properties are out. And then I'm going to store it in a dark glass bottle with a dropper. Because as you guys already know, if you watch my other videos, tinctures are used in drops or dropfuls, okay? So I'm going to be using this for myself to help me to deal with reflux. So before I have a meal that I know is going to have some sort of fat in it, proteins in it, I'm going to take half a dropful or a dropful half an hour before a meal to help me to aid the digestion to avoid reflux. Okay, so dandelion root tincture is made and is gonna sit and mature. And the rest of this pile, I'm going to chop it all up. Okay, I'm gonna chop it all up and I'm gonna put it on my dehydrating trays, just like this. And I'm going to dehydrate them to make a tea. I'm not gonna roast them, nothing like that. I'm gonna keep them dry, okay? So I'm gonna try to chop them in similar size. Why? Because I don't want one chunk to be completely dry and the other chunk to be still moist, because you don't want to store anything with any moisture on it still, because if everything is dry but one little speck could still be wet, and you put it in a container for storage, accidentally you could bring moisture into the container and mold is gonna start growing, and then next thing you know, the whole entire batch can go bad. That has happened to me once, so I've learned from my mistakes and I make sure that everything is super dry. It's probably gonna take at least 8 to 10 hours on my dehydrator. All right, so if I set it up tonight, and I will go check it on it in the morning. Okay, so this has been in a dehydrator overnight. I want to say close to 10, 11 hours, maybe a little bit longer. And they are completely dried, like a little pebbles. So I'm going to store them in a glass container, and I'm going to have an airtight cover on it. So all I'm going to do is just dump them in there. And I'm going to use them whenever I need to. So they will go into tea. But as I mentioned to you guys before, oh, let me see, I don't want to spill anything. But as I mentioned to you before, it's important that any root or a berry, when it's used to make tea out of them, they have to steep longer than leaves. So any aerial part of the plant steeps much faster, but a root steeps much longer. If the root is cut in big chunks, it maybe even has to be boiled for a little bit in order to extract those water-soluble properties. All right. Okay, friends, so here's a dandelion root all dried up and ready for storage. If you're unable to harvest yourself, it's okay. You can always find it online. There are a lot of good, reputable places that you can order from online. But friends, I hope you are encouraged to look into natural treatments, something that's been used for centuries, okay? And dandelion was one of those things that settlers brought with them from the old world into the new world because they knew how beneficial it is to our health. So friends, on this note, be encouraged and try something new.